You're not hearing wrong, you're looking wrong. While so many men learn to listen to a woman's words, I have learned to read what comes before the sound. The body. The body, that elegant traitor, gives everything away. It reveals what modesty wants to hide, what logic tries to repress. Before the sentence, before the yes or maybe, there is the gesture, and it is relentless. You see, I'm not a casual reader of faces or phrases. I'm an archaeologist of intention. I've learned that a woman's desire doesn't begin with touch or even with a glance. It begins in the air around her, in the way space curves to allow her to approach, in the tension that builds when she enters a room and instincts begin to work before the mind even knows what's happening. The most serious mistake a man can make is to believe that female desire is verbal. When a woman desires, she doesn't speak. She emits. Her skin pulses. Her breathing changes. Her entire body reconfigures itself like a living architecture, designed to seduce, even if she herself doesn't know she's doing it. It was with a gypsy woman one night in Lisbon that I understood this truth. She didn't say a word to me, but the fingers that touched the collar of her dress, the way her gaze moved from my mouth to my eyes, the way she leaned slightly toward me, every gesture was a syllable of an ancient language. And when she finally spoke, her voice only confirmed what her body had been screaming for minutes. And the most fascinating thing, she wasn't doing it on purpose. It was biology. It was silent programming. Women have evolved to send subtle, almost invisible signals of desire, precisely to protect their reputation and at the same time test the value of the man in front of them. The man who sees these signals, without needing them to be spoken, proves that he is worthy of deciphering the indecipherable. But this is where many fail. They confuse politeness with interest, kindness with availability, and so they lose the women who silently desired them while pursuing those who never really wanted them, because they never learned to listen with their eyes. You need to understand, when a woman is just being nice, her body is neutral, functional, social, but when she is on fire inside, her body becomes trembling poetry, pupils dilated for no apparent reason, posture that opens up, lips that part even without words. She becomes a silent melody, a letter without text, an answer before the question. And all of this happens in the first few minutes. Female desire does not grow over time. It explodes at the beginning and just looks for a safe place to manifest itself. And that place, that altar where she places her signs, is you. If you pay attention, that is why this is not a text about women. It is a text about eyes, about perception, about developing a rare type of intelligence, masculine sensitivity, the kind that doesn't beg but reads, that doesn't demand but understands, that doesn't force but responds precisely to what has already been offered without words. In the following chapters, I will show you how to decipher the most hidden signs, the eyes that betray, the body that offers itself, the voice that surrenders, the touch that rehearses, the silence that screams, every gesture she will never admit, but which desire, untamable like a caged animal, will always end up revealing. Because in the end, my dear friend, it's not about hearing yes, it's about realizing that it has already been said, even before she knows it. Believe me, young friend, I have learned more about a woman's desire by observing the silence of her gestures than by listening to 1,000 sweetly whispered words. Words are masks. But the body is a traitor. It reveals what the mind wants to hide, and in the theater of female desire, it is the body that makes the first move. When a woman desires, she doesn't need to say it. She gives herself away before she even touches you. Her eyes become accomplices to the crime. Her pupils dilate like windows open to sin. Even in broad daylight, when there is no shadow to justify this phenomenon, her eyes darken and you feel, yes, feel, that you are no longer a stranger, but the central object of a silent game. Make no mistake, this is not a social glance, it is the look of hunger. She holds your gaze for a few moments longer than etiquette would allow and returns to it repeatedly like a thief revisiting the scene of the crime. And there's more. There is an expression that few men recognize, half-closed eyes, heavy eyelids, a soft focus, as if each blink contained an invitation. I call it the bedroom look. And if she's giving you the bedroom look while subtly glancing at your mouth, oh my friend, get ready. She's not just looking at you, she's tasting the anticipation of a kiss, The body follows the gaze. She leans toward you, even when the situation doesn't call for it. Her torso points toward you. Her legs cross in a way that highlights the curve of her thigh. Her shoulders rise like flags in the wind of instinct. And what about proximity? If she could be 3 steps away but chooses to be halfway there, if she enters your intimate sphere under any trivial pretext, it's not without purpose. It is the involuntary strategy of desire. And I have learned that there is no strategy more true than that which the brain itself is unaware of. But the most revealing detail is in the touch. The touch. First, the accidental fingers that slip over your hand when handing you a glass, shoulders that touch when walking side by side, and when desire grows, touch loses the modesty of casualness. She will touch your chest when she laughs, rest her hand on your arm to emphasize a silly comment, and if you are worthy, you will notice that your own fingers wander around your neck, through your hair, as if rehearsing your touch on her. None of this is taught in gyms, but it was in Venetian alcoves and Parisian salons that I learned that the female body, when desiring, loses its neutrality. It writhes for attention. It prepares itself, offers itself, and it is up to the attentive man to perceive this theater. Because you see, a woman will never say "I want you" with her mouth, but her body, it whispers it in every gesture. You just need to have the right ears. If there is one thing I have learned between the sheets of the nobility and the alleys of Bohemia, it is that a woman's body may hide her desire, but her voice, never. When touched by the internal fire of arousal, a woman's speech becomes an instrument of revelation. It doesn't matter how trained, demure, or rational she is, biology speaks for her, and it speaks with the tone of a confession. Observe carefully. A woman who desires does not have the same voice as a woman who converses. Her tone drops as if each word were a whispered invitation to sin. The timbre becomes deeper, her breathing becomes shorter, and the pauses between sentences grow longer. But these are loaded pauses, like silences that beg to be deciphered. Arousal affects her breathing, her muscle tension, even the way her lips open to pronounce a common syllable. And how foolish are men who believe that lust screams. "No, my dear," it whispers. When a woman speaks more softly in your presence, forcing you to lean in to hear her, it is not shyness. It is provocation. It is forced intimacy with the most elegant of weapons, the sound of closeness. She speaks to your neck, not to your ears. She traps you there in that space between what is allowed and what one desires to break. But don't stop there. Listen to the whispers that escape between one sentence and another, the little sighs, the long breaths. All of this is the body speaking while she pretends to talk. I've noticed women sighing between syllables while talking about trivial matters, fashion, politics, the weather in Vienna. But their bodies betrayed another agenda, the growing warmth of their skin, the slightly tremulous vibration at the end of their sentences, the blush that rose when I moved a little closer. And the laughter. The laughter of a woman who desires is almost a ritual of initiation. It lasts longer. It leans toward her. It touches her arm, even if she doesn't notice. And above all, it comes more often than the content requires. You can say something merely witty, and she will respond with disproportionate laughter, not because your joke was exceptional, but because she is saying, "You affect me," and what attention you must pay to rhythm. The woman who wants to keep her distance speaks precisely and quickly. The woman who wants to be touched speaks slowly and ceremoniously, as if each word were a piece of clothing being removed. She speaks to seduce, not to conclude. Her cadence changes. Her voice intoxicates. She is looser, or more fluid, like wine that has finally been released from the bottle. One night in Venice, I heard a countess pronounce my name so long, so drawn out, that it sounded like a profane prayer. She didn't say, "I want you," but in every syllable, there was a carnal echo. Giacomo. And in that moment, I knew more about her desire than any formal declaration could offer me. A woman who desires transforms her voice into territory. She surrounds you without touching you, excites you without explicit words. She may say, "Good morning," but if she says it with her throat open and her gaze burning, understand, she is already naked on the plane where everything begins, that of intention. And what remains for you, my friend, is to learn to listen not with your ears but with your spine. Because when a woman is aroused, her voice vibrates not in the air, but in the body of the listener. And if you don't feel it there, between the base of your neck and the bottom of your soul, then you are deaf to the most refined art in the world, desire spoken in a low voice. If you ask me, among all the arts of desire, which is the most silent and infallible, I will not hesitate. It is the dance of the body towards touch. And my God, how a woman in heat moves, not with haste, nor with announcement, but with the patience of those who know that pleasure lies in anticipation and seduction in the strategy of the invisible. You see, desire is not impetuous, it is cunning. A woman who wants to be touched will never ask for it. She will create the situation, the moment, the reason. And if you are not worthy of the opportunity, she will walk away before you even realize what you have lost. It all starts with space. The woman who desires you invades your invisible bubble without asking permission. You'll be in a crowded room and suddenly she'll be there, too close to be a coincidence, far enough away that others won't notice. And when she speaks, you feel the warmth of her breath on your neck. That, my friend, is not small talk. It's territory. Observe the architecture of her movements. Her body is always positioned facing yours, as if orbiting the gravity of your presence. Her feet point in your direction, even when her head is looking elsewhere. Her hips align, her torso doesn't curve toward others but toward you. It's an involuntary alignment, made of raw desire disguised as casualness. But what really gives away the impulse is the touch. First, the accidental one. She bumps into your arm while laughing, leans briefly on your shoulder as she approaches, lets her fingers touch yours when handing you a glass. None of these actions are real accidents. They are rehearsals. And if you respond calmly and firmly, she moves forward. And then comes the touch that asks without words, the hand that rests on your forearm while she talks, the fingers that rest on your chest when she makes a comment, the elbow that brushes yours as you sit side by side. That touch, my friend, is the kiss before the kiss. It is the implicit permission for the next step. But the most astute, most passionate woman isn't satisfied with just touching you. She touches herself, and that is the most revealing gesture of all. She runs her fingers down her neck, as if remembering the taste of your touch. She smooths her own arms. She twirls her hair between her fingers with the attention of someone caressing something intimate. All of this is code. All of this is a call. I remember a brunette in Marseille whose pleasure was in the long game. For an hour she said nothing that could be interpreted as desire, but her fingers caressed her neck, adjusted her neckline, touched her lower lip as if it bothered her, and I knew. She wanted to be touched, and more than that, she wanted me to deserve her. Finally, when you touch her, and I say when, because if you've read these signs correctly, the moment will come. Watch her response. A woman who doesn't want you will pull away. A woman who wants you will give herself to you. She won't just accept your touch, she'll prolong it. She'll lean toward you, and with her eyes she'll say, more. So don't be guided by words, not even by smiles. Be guided by the inches that shorten, by the fingers that offer themselves, by the absence of defenses. A woman's body doesn't lie when it wants to be touched. It just waits for you to know how to read it before someone else does. There is one detail that separates the ordinary man from the unforgettable lover: his ability to perceive what has not been said, what vibrates in the air even before it becomes a gesture. Because, let me confide in you, female desire is not limited to touch, to the look in the eyes, or to reduced distance. It infiltrates the voice, the rhythm of laughter, the volume of words that do not need to be loud to be deafening. A woman who desires does not speak to inform, she speaks to seduce. Her tone lowers. Her sentences become slower, more rhythmic, as if each syllable were a sip of wine poured slowly over the tongue. But there is something even more subtle: the pause. Yes, the pause. The woman who desires takes long pauses between sentences, as if the world slowed down for a moment just to listen to her restrained desire. This slowness is not inattention, it is involvement. It is as if her entire body is enveloped by a thought she cannot express, but wants to show. And laughter. The laughter of a woman inflamed is a confession. It doesn't explode in case it slips out. It's longer, looser, more surrendered. She laughs not because the joke was perfect, but because the tension between you needs an outlet. I've had nights when I was more desired after a silly joke than after a flawless compliment, because laughter is the sweetest disguise for desire. But there is an even more revealing sound: filled silence. When she sighs between sentences, when her breathing mixes with her speech, when there is a vibration in the back of her throat that doesn't fit what is being said, you are hearing more than just words. You are hearing her body trying to participate in the conversation. A woman in heat breathes differently. She takes a deep breath before speaking, as if carrying with her the courage not to give herself completely, and exhales slowly, like someone trying to maintain control. Her voice becomes hoarser, more velvety, because arousal dilates her vocal cords, softens her muscles, and transforms her tone into an invitation. And there is another gesture, overlooked by the inattentive. She speaks more softly when she wants you to listen more. She lowers her voice not out of modesty, but out of strategy. She forces you to lean in, to invade her space, to listen to her not with your ears, but with your skin. What she wants, my friend, is for her voice to echo inside you, not outside. Once in Vienna, a violinist said just one sentence to me, but the way she whispered my name, with her lips parted, her breath heavy and her gaze fixed on my mouth, it was enough to destroy all my defenses. It wasn't the content, it was the intention leaking through her voice. So listen. Listen to the pauses, the drawn-out syllables, the untimely laughter, the sighs that punctuate the speech. Every sound is a key, and if you know how to use them, you will discover doors that many men don't even know exist. A woman can hide her desire with her face. She can omit it with words, but her voice is treacherous. It gives everything away. You just have to know where to listen. And when you finally learn that, my dear, you will never hear a woman the same way again. There is a magical and dangerously revealing moment when female desire ceases to be merely intimate and becomes territorial. When a woman stops just wanting and starts demanding. And that's when many men lose themselves, thinking they're in control, when in fact they've already been marked as emotional property. The woman who wants you doesn't compete with others openly. She makes subtlety her weapon of war. In a social setting, she positions herself between you and any other woman who dares to catch your eye. She creates an invisible but effective barrier. Her body becomes a wall, and you, her prize to be protected. But pay attention. This woman doesn't just get closer. She increases the touch. She laughs louder. She looks you in the eye when she talks, but she often checks out who else is looking at you. She touches her neck, fixes her clothes, shows off her collarbone as if to say, "Take me." And she does all this while another woman is just a few feet away. That's when she reveals the most primitive side of desire, jealousy. Not that dramatic, overt jealousy, but a contained discomfort that manifests itself in the silence between sentences, in the slight change in tone of voice when someone else appears, in the urgency with which she suggests doing something together, alone. If she talks about the future, about plans for the two of you, without mentioning anyone else. Understand, you are no longer just an interest. You are an emotional possession in the making, and if you doubt the intensity of this, observe the gestures of self-improvement that arise out of nowhere. She fixes her hair more often, applies lipstick more carefully, adjusts her posture to show off her body, as if the simple fact that your attention wavers for a second activates her instinct to show off. Her desire turns into performance, not for everyone, but for you. In Paris, a countess told me, while adjusting her glove with half-closed eyes, "The others can look, but you have already been touched by my eyes." That, my friend, was not vanity. It was marking her territory. She wasn't asking, she was warning. Such behavior does not come from education. It comes from instinct, from the ancestral desire to capture, to hold, to conquer. And the woman who displays it is not interested in sympathy. She wants to be chosen. She wants to be noticed. She wants to be confirmed in the only court that matters, your gaze. Now tell me, did you hear what was never said? Did you see what she didn't show? Did you notice what her body was already screaming? If this text opened your eyes to signs you were ignoring, if any memories or situations came to mind, then you're ready for another level. Enjoy the video, subscribe to the channel, and strengthen this space with a donation of any amount. Here, your every gesture keeps this conversation alive, and this evolution continuous. Write in the comments, "I read silencios." That way I'll know that you not only heard, but understood, that you are no longer in the dark, and that, like me, you have learned the seduction that lies in the details that almost no one sees.